I've never actually introduced myself on YouTube before, so for those of you watching for the first time, my name is Owen, I own Infinit Performance, and we build some of the fastest McLarens in the world. So it all started when I got my first car, which was a Mitsubishi Colt. Now this was a car with 3 cylinders and 63 horsepower. And all my friends at this time used to make fun of me because they had cars with 4 cylinders. I was working in a computer and phone repair shop at the time, not making a whole lot of money, making around £3.60 an hour. My first mod on the car was an induction kit. It was such a small modification, but I think this is what sparked my interest on what these modifications can do to cars, because it made such a big difference to the car. And from there, it was just realizing and reading up on what else I can do to the car. Unfortunately, the car was naturally aspirated, so there's not much that could be done. And from there, I believe I saved up a little bit of money and bought my first 4-cylinder turbo car, which was an Audi TTS. This was a car with massive tuning potential back then. From the factory, it was 272 horsepower. I stage one'd it, went up to 330 horsepower, then I saved up a little bit more, put an intercooler on it, an intake, and the downpipe. I think a high pressure fuel pump. So as I was doing these modifications, I was also learning about what they do, how they affect the car. Took it up to around 360 horsepower. Whilst I was working at the phone and repair shop, I had quite a good amount of knowledge on phones, tech, laptops, etc., on how tech functioned in general. I also did a bit of coding. I was around 18, I had this car that was around stage one at the time, so it was 325 horsepower. Massively powerful car for 18, ridiculous. In the UK, they have this law where if you get flashed by a speed camera twice in the first 2 years of you passing your driving test, they'll revoke your license, right? So I had this massively powerful car, and I needed a way for me to know where all the speed cameras were so I didn't lose my license, because it was a license-losing car. I figured out that the speed camera database in the UK is public information. You can go online, you can download it. And I figured out a way to basically put that speed camera database onto the navigation system of the car. So as you're approaching the speed camera, it would show you a little notification and tell you that you're approaching the speed camera. So that did that for my own car. One day my friend was in the car and he was like, yo, your speed camera thing is sick, can you do it for me as well? And I think he had a BMW or something. So I had to figure out how to do it for his, but I just did it for him because it was a really good friend. And from there, everyone started messaging me for it and asking me for it. You know, they all wanted it for their car. This was at a time where Waze and CarPlay didn't exist. It was quite a big deal knowing where all the speed cameras were through the nav on your car. Everyone started messaging me for it. Then I started selling them. I think I was charging like £20 a pop. I started my own website, selling them for all the different types of cars, all the different brands. And I left my job. I started doing this full time. Did this for a couple of years. And then I realized when I was around 21, this is when Waze and CarPlay came out, right? So you now had these apps and you now had these devices that obviously had this in a better interface. I knew this was not going to be something that would last me. And obviously, because I was making good money at the time, I would also buy cars. I think one of the cars I bought at the time was an Audi RS3, and I had 2 RS3s actually. Not many people know this because I replaced one. The first one, bought it brand new from the dealership, put a hybrid turbo on it, intercooler, some other bits and bobs, tuned it to 520 horsepower, took it on a road trip, crashed in Italy. The Italian police took the car off me. They never gave the car back. They seized the car and they charged us for gambling for money / reward. So that was the charge. They said we were racing for money basically, because apparently that's a big thing in Italy. They took the car, they fined me 10,000 euros. I had to pay an insane amount in lawyer fees. And in the end, I got a 2-year suspended sentence in Italy. So if I committed any more crimes in Italy, I believe I was going to go to jail for 9 months. Came back home, came back to the UK, bought another RS3. This car was pretty important because I learned a lot from this car. Put a big turbo kit on it, intercooler, and this was the first car I actually started to race. So I started taking it drag racing. I think around the time, this was an RS3 with a CZGB engine, and I was the only one, I think, in the world with a 600 horsepower RS3. So I took it drag racing, started learning a bit more about the car and what drag racing and stuff was, started, experimenting with race fuel. I set a world record back then. It was 10.9 at 123 miles per hour, which doesn't sound that fast today compared to what the RS3s can do now, but back then it was the world's fastest. The first RS3 in the 10s in the quarter mile. So that was a big deal. That gave me a lot of popularity in the UK. Pretty much everyone in the UK knew me for, having the most knowledge on the RS3. Everyone used to come to me for advice in the UK anyway, and this was around a point where CarPlay and Waze came out. So I realized that the little thing I had on the side wasn't going to last me forever. So then I sat down one day and I thought, what would I love to do? Well, I loved cars. I loved modifying them. And I was like, everyone comes to me for advice anyway, which I give out for free, tell them where to go and promote other companies. Then I was like, it would be great if I had my own tuning company so I could do X, Y, Z for people. Came up with the name, Infinit Performance, bought a dyno, got a warehouse, launched, and this was exactly at the time when the RS3 with the Daza engine came out. This car was particularly special because this was the first car that Audi made in a while where the turbo would overpower the engine, so the turbo could kill the engine. When we got into tuning these, because of how weak the engine was and because of how strong the turbo was, a few failed. And this is when we realized that, I wasn't going to get very far if I wasn't able to do anything with the engine. So if I wanted to progress, I had to be able to build the engine. One day we decided, drop the engine out, how hard could it be? Now, this was a blessing in disguise because the Daza engine was an incredibly complex engine to build. Every day for around 3 or 4 months, we built 2 engines a week because we were learning so many things on the engine. I think around 15 or 20 of those engines completely flopped. Everything that could possibly go wrong went wrong. So I learned the hard way. I learned by doing. I didn't have anyone to teach me. There's no course that you can go on to go and, learn how to build an engine. It's I learned literally through trial and error. And I'm very fortunate that I learned on an incredibly complex engine because this takes me on to the next thing. So within 2 years of the business launching, we became the leading RS3 specialist in the UK, not only because we were tuning them with a host of features, we were also building the engines and sending them out with 3-year warranties, which was a pretty big deal for a tuning house to do. And now we're in a period of time during COVID when cars were super cheap. So I had been carless for like 2 years, 3 years at this point, and I decided it was time to get myself a car again. Looking through, didn't want a V10 because I already had one, and I ended up deciding on a McLaren 720S. Around about that time, there was not much information about this car, about this engine, regarding tuning possibilities. So, stuck some hybrid turbos on it, upgraded the injectors. It was around 1,000 horsepower, and this seemed to be the level that everyone else in the world was at. Fast forward 1 year, the engine popped. Now, this is when things began to get really serious with the car. Called McLaren, they're like £80,000 for a new engine. So, okay, I'm like £80,000, can't afford that. Tried to get a used engine. I think it was around £40,000 to £50,000 for a used engine at the time. I'm shitting bricks, okay? There's 80 grand for a new engine, 50 grand for a used engine. Definitely not something I could have afforded at the time. So then I was like, let's drop the engine out, How hard could it be? We were already building Daza engines at the time, successfully. So we dropped the McLaren engine out. Took it apart, and to my surprise, it was an incredibly simple engine to work on when I was comparing it to the Daza engine. Easy to time, it had steel liners from the factory, it had 2 injectors per cylinder, it was super low compression, had a pretty short stroke. The upgrade path of the engine was phenomenal, and I was so surprised that nobody had really exploited it yet. We did struggle because we weren't able to get any information on the engine at the time. No torque specs, no timing information, no hardware existed for the engine, so we had to have our own hardware produced. Even the fueling solution at the time, there was nothing around that could take it over 1,050 horsepower. So we developed a fueling solution that could take the cars to around 13 to 1,400 horsepower. So fast forward 6 months, we had a solid engine building program for the McLarens. A client got in touch with me with a similar failure on his McLaren. And I was like, look, what do you want to do here? You want to rebuild it, keep it the same power, or you want to rebuild it and turn things up? We ended up rebuilding that car, stuck a bunch of our development parts in, turned it up to around 1,200 horsepower, and we took it racing. First race, we had a sensor malfunction, so we couldn't race it at all. Second race, we ended up taking the McLaren world record, which was 202 miles per hour in the half mile. And that's how we ended up setting the world record with our first McLaren client. After we set the world record in the UK, we started getting a lot of demand from all over the world. One of the most popular areas was the Middle East, which led us to spend a couple of months here last year to evaluate the market, to work on some client cars. We're currently trying to launch our facility in Dubai. We're still a couple of months off, but hopefully we will have some updates for you in the coming months, and we'll be able to show you a little bit more of what we have in store to cater for this market. All right guys, so 1 year later, we have now been operational for 7-8 months now. Took us a while to set up, but I would say we're probably 95% there. Still not 100%, but around 95%. I think in the last 7 or 8 months or so, we've built and tuned 40 plus McLarens. Easily 35, yeah, probably 35 plus full builds. Some tunes in there, but yeah, it's been a good start. Nice response to the market here. So far it's going pretty good. The builds have been super stable. We've been learning lots of new stuff, lots of new fueling stuff. At the end of the day, I built this facility as an R&D facility for myself, so I could do my R&D in peace and in a nice environment, which it's been proving successful so far. We have our mainline dyno hub, which is one of my favorite parts about the facility because it's just such a good dyno. It's just so easy to dyno cars, collect the data. All of our successful R&D transfers onto the road cars. It makes them more reliable for end use. We're super stable at 1,300 wheel. I had my own car at 1,300 wheel and daily drove it on race fuel every day. Super stable, super happy with the results. We are now on 1,400 wheel horsepower, so it's a 100 wheel horsepower bump. We've started to see some issues with synchros in the gearbox, but we're already working on a solution for them with Dodson. I think if we go back maybe 3 or 4 years ago, there was no McLaren fueling solution available on the market. So we came along, we designed our version 1 fuel pump upgrade. So let's just call it stage 1 fuel pump upgrade here. We took the Senna pumps, we modified the wiring loom, we added another controller, dropped it into the 720S fuel pump assembly. And that gave us, I would say, around 1,000 wheel on E85. And 1,200 wheel on E50. It gave us a nice amount of fueling, but then the cars were knocking. They were knocking at 1,200 wheel on E50, so we needed more fueling. So then we had the V2 version of that fueling solution, which then gave us, it didn't give us too much more, it gave us around 1,250 to 1,300 wheel on E85. Now we're on to version 3 of our fuel pump upgrade, which is twin E5 LM pumps and voltage boosted fuel pump controllers. Now on these fuel pump controllers, we're now making around 1,400 wheel on E99. So the higher you go in ethanol content, the more fueling you need. The higher you go in ethanol content as well, the more octane resistance you get with the fuel as well, because it burns a lot cooler. I did a lot of testing over the summer as well with methanol, some nitromethane, some other fueling, some alternative fueling. We also worked through all summer to get 1,300cc injectors working on these McLarens, which we now have working. They're super stable at idle, super stable at wide open throttle. You wouldn't even know that the car has that large of an injector in there. That's how smooth the setup is. Thomas, come as we all go down. Yeah, but for the folk who Okay, so some background info on the blue carbon fiber car. So that's a McLaren that we bought earlier in February, March this year. The plan always was to build it to say 1300 wheel horsepower, put some wheels on it, do the interior, put a carbon kit on it and put it up for sale. That was the plan. So we were chipping away at it. We did the engine, fully built engine, same spec as mine, 1300 wheel turbos because the 1400 wheel ones weren't ready at that time. Full interior redone, full carbon body kit by Top Car. And there's probably some stuff in there that I'm missing that I can't think of at the moment, but it had every single carbon fiber optional extra. Carbon fiber wheels by Brixton Forged as well. We coated the heat shields in gold to match the GTR look. And of course, custom logos on the headrests. So we built this car over summer. We recently wrapped it up. We weren't rushing to finish it because we were also, setting up the workshop, dealing with clients, finishing client builds, prioritizing them. We got it finished, and before we even got a chance to take it out for a shoot, get some content on it, someone just came along, made us an offer that we couldn't refuse on it, and bought it, just like that. Fortunately, we were able to do a last minute shoot, but for now, this is our first car that we built, and we will be doing many, many more.